Hey, what's going on guys? It's Mostromoto. In today's video, I will be installing Hammer LEDs on my Honda XR650l. What's up guys? I hope you are all doing well. Today my plan is to install some LED blinkers on the old XR. The blinkers that come on this bike from the factory, in my opinion, are actually pretty cool. I really appreciate the retro styling that this bike brings to the table. That being said, what I appreciate more is my safety when I'm out there riding. These blinkers are a little bit dim from the factory, at least when you compare them to modern alternatives. Now you could simply replace the incandescent bulbs with LEDs, but after doing some research online, I came across the Hammer LEDs. Now if you're looking for a cheap LED blinker, I would not recommend this kit. This kit is going to run $236. Now before you click out of the video, just consider that this kit does not require you to cut anything on this motorcycle. And a benefit to that is you can always go back and install the OEM blinkers if you ever decide to sell the motorcycle. Also, these are going to last substantially longer than pretty much any other LEDs on the market. Another huge benefit to this company, and specifically this kit, is the LED turn signals come with everything you need. You do not need to purchase anything else. This kit comes with 4 LED turn signals. They come with all the necessary wiring and adapters. So these are the Hammer LEDs. These are the Flex 4. And let's take a look at what's inside. So after taking this out of the package, you can immediately tell this is a very high-end product. One of the reasons why I went with the Hammer LEDs instead of a lot of other aftermarket options is purely just because they're really designed for dual sport use and off-road use. And obviously you can tell in the design they're built to last. They have a 5-year warranty, which is pretty impressive. A lot of cheaper LED blinkers will use pretty chintzy wires, and the housings are just not going to hold up compared to something like this that's all metal. Another nice feature is these are going to sit a little bit closer to the motorcycle, so they're less likely to get snagged if you're doing any sort of trail riding. And I think these blinkers will give the XR a little bit more of a modern look, without it being too modern, because I do really appreciate the retro appeal of the bike. And also just looking at the wiring real quick, you can tell it's a very high quality wiring job. They use heat shrink on their products. These are the built-in resistors, so that's pretty awesome. And then for the XR650, it's going to use bullet connections. So these will hook directly up to the motorcycle. I won't have to cut anything. So that was another big benefit of going with this kit. And as always, I am not sponsored by this product. I just like high-end and high-quality products, especially when it comes to my bikes. I want things to last, and I want to be able to buy once, cry once type of deal. So yeah, that's why I went with these guys, and let's get them installed on the bike. And taking one last look at the OEM blinkers, once again, I do really like how this bike looks, but I do think that it's going to make a big difference having the LEDs. In order to gain access to the wiring harness for the front blinkers, we'll need to remove the front headlight cowl. I'm using a 10mm socket on a T-handle wrench here, and this should do the trick. With those 2 bolts removed, you can remove the headlight cowl. Now tracing the blinker wire back, the wire is going to end up behind the headlight, and it's going to be this wire right here, the blue and green wires. With the wiring disconnected, we can remove the stock blinker using a 14mm open-end wrench. And now you can pull the wiring out all the way. And another thing I forgot to mention, but the weight difference on these is substantial. If you're trying to lose weight on the XR, this is definitely a good way to start. Now take your new blinker and unthread the nut at the back. We're going to keep this washer here. Remove this nut completely. We need to thread this through the opening of the OEM blinker. We're going to line it up and then take our nut and thread it back on. And that's what it should look like when it's installed. Of course, you want the washer on one side and then the nut on the other. And now let's connect the wiring harness that came with this LED onto this connection here. And I'm just going to take a quick second and run these wires the same way the OEM wiring was ran. This way everything's a little bit neat. Now take your 2 bullet connectors and connect it to the bike. Keep in mind that the black wire is going to be your ground and the red wire will be your power. The blue wire coming from the motorcycle will be your power, so connect red to blue. And then your ground to your green on the motorcycle. And when installing bullet connectors, you should feel a little click. That's how you know that they're installed properly. Looking at the left turn signal on the front of the motorcycle, we trace that wiring back. You'll have a green wire here that you need to disconnect. That is your ground. And then the orange wire here, you will also disconnect. That's going to be your power. So with the wiring all set, I'm just going to make sure I neaten it up, and then I will put the front headlight cowl back on. And the back blinkers will be pretty much an identical process. In my case, I have a XR650R fender on the bike, so the wiring is routed slightly different, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same. Step one is to remove the two 12mm bolts holding on the seat. With those bolts removed, you can pop the seat off by pulling it back towards you and up. Under the seat is where you'll find the wiring harness that contains the wires for your rear blinkers. And the wires for the blinkers are identical to the ones in the front. You will have an orange and green blinker wire that you can remove. And then same thing, you will have a blue and green blinker wire, which you can also remove. Now that the wires are removed, you'll need to thread them out. You'll probably need to remove your side panel that covers your airbox. And it's pretty straightforward, so just take your time and follow the wires. Now, like I said earlier, my wiring is going to be slightly different because I have that XR600R fender, but it should all basically be the same. You'll have 3 black wires that are coming from the rear of the motorcycle. Just make sure to trace the 2 blinker wires. Of course, you don't want to disconnect your taillight. So trace the 2 blinkers. They will come up here. Once again, it's going to be these 2 wires here. You'll be able to see that hopefully. So just trace it, remove the zip ties that are holding on the wires, and then we can install the new blinkers. So now you should be able to pull your wires through this hole here. And just take your time, make sure you're pulling the correct wire. That wire's removed, and then we'll pull this wire as well. Feed it through that hole there, and it removes no problem. Keep in mind when installing the wiring on the rear blinkers, this company provides an additional length of wire that will go in between your blinker and that wire that has the resistor and bullet plugs. So connect this first, then run this end however you'd like. I'm going to go the same way the OEM cable went. And just to give you a close-up of how I ran the wire, I ran it from the LED the exact same way that the OEM wire is ran. It ends up right near your snorkel here. I then connected, using that connector there, the resistor. And of course, the resistor has the bullet connections, which will now get connected into the wiring harness. So guys, with all the LED blinkers installed, I ran into an issue, and that issue is when I turn the blinker on, they just stay solid. And the problem is the relay on this bike is not sensing a draw from the blinkers. Basically, with the incandescent blinkers, they draw quite a bit more power versus these LEDs. Now, the built-in resistors are supposed to help with that. They're basically supposed to mimic a similar draw of power so that your stock relay will work properly with the blinkers. But unfortunately, in this case, that did not work. I still ran into the issue where they were staying solid. So the fix for this is replacing the relay with a LED relay. So this is a very easy fix. That being said, I reached out to the company because this is an expensive kit and it's supposed to be all-inclusive, and right on their website, it says that it should work out of the box. So hopefully I'll hear back from them, and I will definitely update you guys in a future video. But to solve the problem for now, I picked up a cheap LED relay from Amazon. This is the stock one on the left. The new relay is on the right. And basically this will just sense the draw from the LEDs, and it should allow them to function properly. Your LED relay will be located under the front headlight cowl. So this is where your relay will be. I have the LED one installed right now. It's a very simple install. All you need to do is slide the old one or the stock one off of this rubber and metal mounting system, and then you can unplug it using the 2-plug adapter here. It's a very straightforward process. And then you can install your new one. I installed the OEM rubber piece back onto the new LED relay, and then you just plug it back in. Hey guys, so after some communication with HammerLEDs, they sent out the relay. It's a 2-pin relay like I showed you earlier, and they were pretty good with communication. They got back to me quickly and they resolved this issue, so super nice of them. They sent this out for free, and hopefully they'll be including this in all the kits for the XR650l going forward. But yeah, I definitely recommend this company, and awesome job. So guys, overall, I'm very happy with how these blinkers came out. I think they look really good. They're definitely a lot brighter than the stock ones, and they're also going to be a lot more durable. They flex in pretty much every angle you can think of, and they spring right back into place. So that's pretty impressive. These have to be one of the most robust and clean looking blinkers on the market. They're certainly expensive, but in my opinion, they are worth it. Not a lot of blinkers are going to be able to flex like that. You can literally like twist them in any which way. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with how they came out. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to reach out in the comment section down below. I usually am pretty good with responding. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and ride safe.